Hey there, people. It is me. I am back to play the new World of Warcraft expansion, Dragonflight. I am doing a review thing of sorts since it is exactly a month since it launched, November 28th, December 28th. I decided after, I of course came back after a very long time, played Shadowlands, bad choice apparently, because that didn't last long. And now I'm giving Dragonflight a chance, and I decided, it's been a month in. What are my thoughts? I'm going to voice my thoughts, give my opinions and stuff on Dragonflight, just what I think of it in general. Do note, this is a very unscripted video. Literally all I have is a notepad on my side that has my thoughts and opinions, like some bullet points as to what I'm going to talk about. And that's basically it. So if you're expecting some really well-rounded thoughts and, opinions, don't expect it. This is going to be basically a 20-minute ramble fest about what I think of the Dragonflight expansion. So without getting off topic this early on, let's just get into it. I'm going to start off with the negatives. So this video is not going to start off on a good note, and then I'm going to go on to the mid stuff and then the positive stuff. That way, I can get all the crazy sensitive people out of the way. They can just leave immediately since I say anything remotely bad about the expansion. Then the people who can actually take, criticism about the game they play, they can stick around and it'll all be good and stuff. And I don't know why I felt the need to do shots fired at a bunch of people, but, it just seemed right. Anyways. Negatives. So. Well, actually, first off, before I go into, just straight up negatives and positives, let me just say just start off with. This should probably go without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's better, it's much, nicer than Shadowlands, but I mean, that's kind of a given, that's a low bar, because, of course, there's a good chance if you're watching this, you saw the one video that the YouTube algorithm decided to show a bunch of people of me just logging into the game after not playing since early cat or whatever. And, yeah, Shadowlands' problem was, well, it had a lot of problems, but just the needless grinds, the fact there's multiple systems that you had to grind for, it was just, the aesthetic wasn't that greatly well handled, all the zones were separated. It was not good. It was not that good. Except the first raid. Castle Nathria was pretty good. So going into Dragonflight, pretty much a lot of those core negatives I had with Shadowlands aren't here anymore. So that already, boosts my opinion and my desire to probably play a little longer. Because I don't feel the need to have to do a lot of these grinds as soon as I log in. We should probably just run around the city for a bit and then, we'll go somewhere in time. So yeah, better than Shadowlands, that's a given. Am I gonna go as far as to say it's better than, the good old days in Wrath? No, but that's never gonna happen. There's too much nostalgia and memories for that to ever happen. Even if gameplay-wise or whatever, it might be better, who knows? I'm never gonna actually have the opinion that it is better than Wrath, because Wrath is amazing. And it actually had good writing. Great segue to my first main negative. I think the lore/writing of Dragonflight and pretty much modern WoW in general is pretty much just something you should just ignore. You should not play WoW if the lore is one of the reasons you are considering playing it. I am of the opinion that the lore and the writing team especially do not have Warcraft's best interests, and they don't know how to utilize the world well. The writing is pretty bad. They don't have any interesting characters anymore, really. It's pretty much just, forgettable or bad or mediocre characters at best. And the few characters that they could utilize that are good aren't really being utilized well. I'm being purposely, somewhat vague here because I don't want to go on a 20-minute negative tirade about my specific problems with the lore. So I'm just giving some general, overview, thoughts, and opinions and whatnot. But yeah, I don't think the writing's good. I don't think the world building or character building is good at all. It's almost not even present in some areas. And it sucks because the writing and the world and the feel of the game used to be one of my favorite parts of the game. That's why I have so much nostalgia for a lot of the old zones. And hell, playing Dragonflight almost wants me to make me do classic leveling again, actually, just to experience some of those old zones and stuff. But, yeah. And some other, like, minor things. We don't really have a main villain or really any main, at least not any interesting, like, side characters that I really, like, remotely care about. I don't know where I'm going, by the way. That's intentional. We're just walking around for now. The current, like, villain, who, spoiler, didn't last very long, like Razageth. I could not take that villain. It was, like, the most average, like, mediocre villain I've ever seen. I thought Razageth was mediocre as heck. Also, maybe it's just me, but her voice acting was just, like, silly. I could not take the voice acting of Razageth seriously. I don't know what it was. That's just the vibe I got. I should not be here. There's just a bunch of elementals here. So yeah, I thought Razageth was, like, mediocre as heck. Obviously, like, you know, we just had Shadowlands, so, you know, it's a pretty low bar, all things considered, but still. So I don't think the lore in the writing's good. Anyways, moving on. We're gonna go to something that's more, I guess, relevant, because, you know, even if the lore and writing is, in my opinion, bad, not good, and I don't really have any faith in the current writing team to steer in the right direction, based off some of the decisions they've already made so far, even the writing team would have to, like, change significantly, and I don't see that happening. It's clear that making a good world, a good story, is either not the priority, or they're just very bad at it. Again, I know I keep saying this, it's just my opinion. So, moving on to something more relevant, I guess, to most, the some gameplay-related stuff, or system-related stuff. The Mythic Plus reward system. I still do not like it. You know, finishing a plus 12 or plus 15 or what have you, and getting 10 Primal Chaos does not feel good. It feels very bad. I don't know why they still have it like this. You know, yes, does it feel as bad as Anima? At first, no. But now that I have 333 Primal Chaos, yeah, it still feels pretty bad. That doesn't feel good at all, to be honest with you. When you have, like, a way too much Primal Chaos, like, I don't need any more, so it's the equivalent of getting nothing, which is basically the same as Anima. Now, yes, there's this Valor system, which you can use to upgrade gear, but there's a season maximum, so once you've hit that, you know, season maximum, you can't get any more. So if you do just get Primal Chaos at the end after you've hit that season maximum, then you really are just getting Primal Chaos, which basically is the equivalent of getting nothing. I hate it. I really do. Honestly, probably one of my biggest negatives. If I really want to get a trinket or something from a dungeon, you know, it's Shadowlands flashbacks all over again. I really need a trinket. Like, it was these two different trinkets from two different Shadowlands dungeons, and I had to run those Shadowlands dungeons so many times and just hope so I would get it. And it's the same freaking thing here. And they just don't drop. I just don't get anything. If something does drop, it might not even be what I need. You can't even, like, set a system to, like, hey, this is the loot I would prefer to drop, so, like, when the next time a piece of gear does drop, it's, like, a higher chance or guaranteed to be that piece of gear. At least, like, I don't know, something like that. But no, you just have to keep, like, banging your head against this dungeon and hopes you get it, or hope you're lucky and you get in the vault. That's it. Those are your options. You can't, like, exchange Valor or Primal Chaos to just buy the piece of gear straight up. Because I don't know what they have against, like, a badge system that just lets you get gear as well. And just make it, you could even make, here's what I think. At least make it so there's, like, a tier, like, let's say you do a plus 10 dungeon, mythic or dungeon or whatever. That'll allow you to get a certain, like, tier of currency similar to Valor or something, or some kind of badge that you could then exchange for, like, a certain level of gear. So if you do, like, plus 10s, you get, like, a gear, you get, like, badges that'll allow you to get, you know, item level 392 or something. That's just an example. And there's nothing like that, which sucks. Because, you know, having to just repeatedly do a dungeon for, like, a best-in-slot gear or something you want. I'm not saying it should be easy to do, so, like, I don't think you should just be able to spam Mythic Zeros and, you know, ramp up currency until you eventually get it. So, but there should be, like, some system to exchange for, like, good gear directly, even if it's not a very generous system. But only having this upgrade system and nothing else, it just feels bad, man. Because again, the Valor's there, but that doesn't give you gear itself, and there's a cap on it. So it really does feel like you do a Mythic Plus, and it's like, oh, you got Primal Chaos. Oh, guess what? I don't need that anymore. It's not useful anymore. I can't really do anything with it. It's like, I guess the only thing you could do is you can level up a profession, and then, well, no, even that wouldn't work because they would be providing the reagents. Anyways. My point is, I don't like the Mythic Plus reward system. It's not as bad as it was in Shadowlands, but I really don't think it's that much better. I've done like a lot of Mythic Pluses, and I have, what do I have to show for it? A belt and a cloak and a staff. That's it. That's all I got. I've done quite a lot of Mythic Pluses, and I only have 3 pieces of gear. That's really, I think that's just silly. I think that's kind of ridiculous. You should either get gear more often, there should be a badge system to exchange for gear directly. Valor system should be, like, not a little more generous. I don't know, maybe you should get a little more. I don't know, there should just be some way, because I don't want to have to run the same dungeon 20 times and just hope I get the right trinket. Because again, even if you run the dungeon 20 times, there's no guarantee you'll actually get the piece of gear that you want. And I've been talking about this for way too long, but it's a system I really don't like the way it works. I've already talked about this for too long as is. Because it's already been 12 minutes. Oh shoot. Oh, I guess we're Dragonflying early. You can tell it's probably the thing that annoys me the most about the game currently, because it's just annoying. It's just annoying, I don't like it. Anyways, I could keep going on about, you know, more specifics about how it would improve and stuff and whatnot, but again, this is unscripted rambling. I want this video to be short. It's already 12 minutes, and a lot of that was me just talking about how I don't like the reward system for Mythic Pluses. Again, at least there's Valor. It's not, you know, the worst, but it's still not good. So, next up. This is kind of a minor one. Rep grinds. One way you can get new gear. There's these new reputations. And the only way you can get some profession-related stuff is to grind with these reputations. So, while it's not as mandatory because they're, you know, they're profession stuff, and a lot of it is just like cosmetics. The main problem is the end thing. You get this thing, which will allow you to get a higher piece of gear. So the only way you can get this higher piece of gear is to grind. It's not skill. There's no skill related into getting this. You just have to grind with the reputation to hit max level, and then you get to get a better piece of gear for it. That doesn't feel good. That's kind of, I don't like that. I don't know what it should give as a max level instead, aside from like mounts or something, but to have to grind reputations to be like the best of the best and get the best use of those weekly sparks of ingenuity, which I'm not hugely positive on sparks of ingenuity either, because it's technically time gating, and no one likes time gated stuff, and yet it's time gating. And if you use it and don't like the way you used it, then tough luck, you have no way to get it back. So I'm not hugely positive on sparks of ingenuity. Shut your damn mouth, Greta. I'm busy here. Anyways, I wasn't planning to fly this early on, because I haven't even talked about Dragonflying yet. But yeah, I don't like how there's like, you can get there's technically a high piece of gear, a high tier gear, not tier gear, but a high eye level gear just tied behind a rep grind. It doesn't feel that good. Final thing, as far as the main negatives are concerned. Warlock, this is more just Warlock specifically. Class balance as a whole is actually not that bad, aside from it being mostly favored towards melee. From what I understand, like, melee is just generally better right now, because of the way balance works and the way a lot of the encounters work. It's just generally suited to being better towards melee, and a lot of melee classes are just generally, like, really good right now. Warlocks in particular, I'm basically stuck to playing Demonology. I knew how to play Affliction. I knew how to play Destruction. I particularly really like to play Affliction. But tough, Affliction is garbage and single target right now. Destruction is like the worst performing spec in the game right now. At least if the the graphs I saw earlier are anything to go off of. I think it was actually like the bottom specs. And it's like I wanted to play either Destruction or Affliction. Affliction's only good in AoE, but it's garbage single target. It's getting buffs, so it might get better. But yeah, who can say? I don't know. This is a nice like little bridge here. So I don't really like the place Warlock's in right now. Obviously I'm kind of biased because Affliction was really good. And when I did play in Shadowlands, it was I think it was the #1 single target spec in Nathria, so of course I really like that. It always feels good to be playing a good spec, but now I'm stuck with Demonology, and I don't actively dislike Demonology, it's just I prefer to play like Affliction or something. And even then, Demonology isn't amazing, but it's good. Well, I guess it's pretty good. It's pretty good, I'll be honest, but anyways. And that's basically negatives. So yeah, I ranted about that Mythic Plus stuff for way longer than I should have. I just want to get my point across that I don't think it's good. And the lore and the writing and the rep grind stuff kind of like, come on. You really gotta do it like that. I understand like there's, you know, for substantial, like tangible isn't a word that makes sense here, but like a word that is genuinely useful for doing that rep grind, but it still doesn't like feel good to not be able to get like the best neck or whatever because I decided not to do the grind and whatever. Anyways, we're not going to go back into that. That's basically the extent of my negative. So of all the people who don't like criticism have now left, what in God's name put a fruit on me? This goddamn piece of garbage monkey is going to eat my... Okay, I'll let it live. That's actually kind of cute. I didn't know that monkey showed up. So a couple, let's see, little mid things. In terms of core content, the raid. Raid is very okay, I think, from what I've done so far. Aesthetically, it's also like the most bog standard, like middle of the road raid I've ever seen. There's nothing aesthetically that really stands out except for like maybe the Ice Spider boss fight and its Arena Senarth. That boss is pretty cool. Maybe I'll put a thing up. Maybe I'll put a thing up to show what it looks like if you haven't seen it, but you can just Google it. Senarth is pretty cool. There's a couple other bosses that like have kind of cool arenas, but for the most part, it's just like, hey, here's an elemental room. Hey, here's a rock hallway. Kill this elemental. Now go into this rock hallway to another elemental person. Very mediocre. Comparing it to like Nathria, Castle Nathria and Shadowlands, which is all I really can compare it to. I do think I thought Nathria was cooler just overall. I wasn't even trying to get to the Alharan Plains, but here I am. And then in terms of like the raid mechanics, a lot of the bosses are pretty simple. Nothing too complicated so far from what I've seen. There's not really any boss that I think is like super fun. Like in Nathria, I really liked Artificer Zymox, and you know, Denathrius was of course really cool. But you know, involving Incarnates, there's like Mura Grim Totems, kind of neat, I guess. There's not really any bosses I actively dislike so far, but most of them are just like okay. Let's see. Some other mid stuff. This isn't really a negative or positive. It's just like... Actually, this is kind of like positives now. So, we've gotten all the negatives. Let's talk about some things I actually like. First off. Hang on, let's count the bird. Why not? So we stop hearing the infernal stomps. Which I definitely didn't get that mount on my 5th try. Both of these. In 5 runs on Nighthold, because I am just very lucky, apparently. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, let's go. Now that we've gotten... How long? 19 minutes? Every time I try to record something short, it winds up being, like, super long instead. I don't know how this happens every time. It's because I spend, like, 10 minutes ranting about goddamn Mythic Plus reward system. So, let's finally get into positives. If for some reason you've stuck around this long, let's go into things I like. Why am I still playing? What do I think am I having fun? And the answer is, for the most part, I am enjoying myself. I am still playing. I am eye level 389. Again, as we discussed earlier, I've been playing quite a bit. Even my rewards for it have been subpar as far as Mythical Pluses go, but it's besides the point. So, positives. Dragonflying is just, I think, objectively a good thing. It just feels better than normal writing in every conceivable way. This should just be the new way of flying. This should not be just for Dragonflight. Assuming there are more expansions after it, which would be weird if it wasn't, if there wasn't. But yeah, Dragonflying should just be catnip. Oh geez, I should stay off the beaten path. I don't want to have to deal with these alerts, my damn add-ons. So Dragonflying is just good. It just feels good. It just feels better than normal flying. Just feels so like archaic now. So this should just be the new method of flying. It just feels good. It's fast, and yeah, it's just good. Everyone likes Dragonflying. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like Dragonflying. So another thing I like, the classes are pretty complex. Shadowlands was already kind of like this, but I like how a lot of classes have a lot of buttons. Demonology in particular, for example, like I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like I have like 12, 11 buttons as Demonology Warlock, depending on like what build I'm going for. That's a lot compared to like when I was playing Demo Warlock and Wrath, or hell, even Demo Warlock now. It's like Demo Warlock and Wrath, I had, what, 3 buttons? I think. It's like Immolate, Conflagrate, Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, 4. That was it. And hell, Destruction is still relatively simple. It's like, still like, it's like 5 buttons or 6 buttons now. It's like 1 or 2 more buttons. So, I don't know how Demonology Warlock played back in the day, because I only ever played Destruction and like Affliction stuff. But, I don't know, I can't say for much for other classes, but from what I've heard, a lot of classes just feel good to play. And a lot of classes are more complicated. Some people don't like that. I do. I don't want to have to play. I don't want a rotation that's just 2 buttons. And if you do, I think there are some classes that are kind of like that. There are some specs that are kind of like that. I just don't think. I don't know. Maybe those. I don't know. Maybe those specs that are like really simple shouldn't be like super good. But that's kind of a silly thing to say. Besides the point, I like the way that classes are more complex, and that there's a lot more buttons. A lot of buttons. I like having options. Even if you don't use them, just having them there is nice. Next positive, the zones. Perfect segue as I enter Azure Span. I think everyone can agree that Azure Span is one of the nicest zones they've ever made, probably. It's like Grizzly Hills meets what would be like Grizzly Hills meets Howling Fjord meets like Dragon, like Storm. What's a good like snow zone? It meets some snow zone, like I don't know, snow parts of Borean Tundra maybe. But of course, yeah, Borean Tundra is just the music, not Borean Tundra. Azure Span's like an amazing zone. Like it just feels like just this music, man. I don't know if my music, my volume's pretty low, but the music is so good. This zone's great. Pretty much all the zones are pretty nice. Azure Span kind of carries it overall, but Waking Shores is also pretty good. Aharon Plains is nice enough. Valdrashus exists, but it's okay. So, yeah, big fan of the zones. I think we're all a little glad that we're kind of back in just a forest area. We're not in some weird afterlife place. The zones aren't separated. I don't know why they did that in Shadowlands. Like, it's like these guys forgot. It's like, you know, there's this expansion called Cataclysm when I quit the game, and nobody liked how the zones were separated. Why did you do it again in Shadowlands? It's not good. Don't make the zones separated. That's never a good way to do it. Ouroboros was just an airport. Yeah. By the way, I didn't make a bullet point of this, but a little another improvement. The new major city, Thaldraszus, it's fine. It's good. It's miles better than what we had in Shadowlands, which was an airport. A very, very boring, aesthetically boring major city in Ouroboros. Goodbye, Ouroboros. You stink. Anyways, yeah, the zones are nice. So, what else did I make here? No pointless systems on my bullet points. Yeah, I mean, I kind of touched on that earlier. There's no needless systems we need to grind for. You could argue that the reps are, because again, you technically can get a really good gear at the end. But I mean, that's only for like, you don't need it. It's only for really high level stuff. That's just if you want to be, you know, completely optimal. There's not stuff like the Maw. There's not conduits. There's not the renowns with your, I don't remember what they're called in Shadowlands. You know, Ardenwell and Bastion, what have you, those. You don't have those that you, like, basically have to do. There's not as much time gating. So that's just, I think, just a general good thing. Nobody likes a bunch of pointless systems. Other positives, the dungeons are nice. I think I actually pretty much like all of the dungeons. And Shadowlands is a pretty mixed bag. Where in God's name am I looking? Of course, this is Mythic Plus. Another positive. I actually like how Mythic Plus is bringing back old dungeons. And it's gonna like rotate them out. For the most part, they're actually balanced pretty decently. You know, I would have never got to experience Court Halls of Valor or Xiao Moon or any of these otherwise because I didn't play during that time. Halls of Valor, funnily enough, this is the trinket I want, and this trinket has two really good trinkets that are good for my class, and also has like good boots and good. Yeah, it also has good boots. There's a lot of stuff from this dungeon that I could use, so I'm gonna have to run a lot. So at least it's like one has awesome aesthetic, but you know, again, besides the point. Dungeons are mostly good. In terms of Dragonflight specific dungeons, I think I genuinely like all of them. I think my least favorite is probably Ruby Life Pools because it's Ruby Life Pools. But aside from that, most of the dungeons are pretty good. I don't really actively dislike any of the dungeons. I think it helps that, you know, the aesthetic of the dungeons is pretty good as well. And yeah, that's kind of covered my bullet points and my negatives and positives. Overall, I'm not done yet, though. Just you wait, I'm not done yet. Should probably turn around because I'm going to be going to, like, the Brackenary area. And, like, go over in this area. Yeah. Overall, you know, am I as, you know, blindingly positive as some people seem to think? Some people are, like, super positive, seem to think that, you know, this expansion is just amazing, one of the best they've ever made. Maybe it is. I still think you need to give it time, because yes, the first patch, the first release, how Dragonflight is so far might be good. Remains to be seen what the new content is. And that's why we're going to segue once again, the absolute god tier segue, couldn't have done it any better, into some things, wishlist things. I put a couple notes down on my beautiful notepad.txt over here. Some things I think that aren't necessarily negatives, but I think if you really want this expansion to be, like, top tier, these things would help it a lot. I think some core side mode, something like, not directly, but like a core side mode like Torghast or something like that would be good. Because, yes, there's no really, like, there's no Maw, there's no systems you necessarily need to grind for, there's no Torghast, but there's not really something to replace that. You don't have, like, a side solo content to do or anything of the sort. And I really think, like, some kind of, like, I didn't play Legion, but so I don't really know what Mage Tower really was like. What? I don't want to. Shut your damn mouth, or else I will fight you and make you eat stale crackers. What was I talking about? It's a really nice. This is just nice. This zone is great. Anyways, yeah, some kind of side mode that can be done in place. You know, when you have nothing else to do and you want to, like, have something to work towards. Even if it just gave, like, a small chance of gear and, like, mounts and, like, transmogs or something like that. Like something like Torghast that was just like a little challenge side content thing. I don't know. The fact that because there's nothing really like that right now in terms of endgame. All you can really do is grind. Do professions, dungeons, raids, you know, typical endgame stuff. You don't really have anything fresh and new in that regard, so I think that's definitely something that would be nice if they added. Not really sure if it's a negative necessarily. If you talk one more time, I will actually, like, fight you to the death. Not clearing your damn nests, okay? You can't make me do it. Another wish list. The first raid. I didn't touch on this earlier because I forgot. The first raid is pretty small. Relative to, well, I guess it's, I don't know if you call it small, but typical to what we normally have. It is 8 bosses. It is not the, what, 10? 12? Hold on. I need to fact check myself to make sure I'm not crazy. How much did Nathria have? Because that's the only one I did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, 10. So it's 2 bosses. So it's a little smaller than typical. And then, which, you know, isn't that bad, but still. I think that to truly make Dragonflight, like, to just increase the opinions, make opinions on it even higher, I think Dragonflight should get 4 raids. And I'm wondering if this raid being, I'm trying to get the adventure guide, because I wanted to check something. Because from what I didn't Legion have 4 raids? Yeah, look at all the raids, like, it had Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, which is like a mini raid, but Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, Nighthold, Antor's, Tomb of Sargeras. Legion had 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so yeah, Emerald Nightmare. So this actually is perfect, because yeah, I'm looking at, I remember, like, it's like, wait a second, why did Legion have, like, 4 raids? It had 5 raids. So, and then you look at, like, you know, later expansions, like, didn't BFA only have 1, 2... Crucible of Storms had 2 bosses? I don't even remember that at all. So it had... Oh, it did have 4. It had 4 raids. Why did I have it in my head? Did Shadowlands only have 3? Yeah, Shadowlands only had 3 raids then? Even BFA had more. I mean, WoD had 3? Why is it so inconsistent? I thought it was always the same amount every time. Everything I believed was ruined. Okay, anyways. Looking at Legion as an example, I think this setup should be what they do. Again, I did not play during Legion, but I think this isn't a good setup. You have one, like, Emerald Nightmare looks like, from what I'm seeing how many bosses there are, is a similar size to, you know, Vault of the Incarnates, what we have in Dragonflight. And then we have a small raid, a mini raid, like, which is 3 bosses, and then 3 full raids. I think that's what they should do for Dragonflight. We have, like, an 8-boss raid, and then, like, at least, like, 2 full raids, and then, like, a mini raid. I think ideally you would have 3 like, big raids, like 10 boss style raids, or 10, like, 9, 8, 10 boss raids, like 3 of those, and then, like, a mini raid, basically, like, 4 raids. 4 raids and then, like, a mini raid is what I think they should do. Now, that's a lot more content than compared to what we got in Shadowlands, but Shadowlands was bad. Reception of Dragonflight is positive, and I think to retain that positivity, it would be very good to, you know, capitalize on that and release more raids than we got last expansion, even if I didn't play last expansion very long because I quit it early. Yeah. More raids. It took me way too long just to say I think there should be 4 raids. I could have said that in 10 seconds. I wound up rambling for like 3 minutes. That's what I do. How have I been recording for 33 minutes already? Who is still watching? Are you still watching this? You should, like, go do something else now. Unless you don't want to, in which case I appreciate you. Anyways, final like couple things. They released a roadmap. The WoW dev team or whatever, they released a roadmap that says, hey yo, we are going to release this stuff in these seasons, and it's like there's like new zone, good, new raid, good, and one thing they showed was a mega dungeon, which that made me perk my ears up because I have a lot of nostalgia for old dungeons like Blackrock Depths and what the big like super dungeons. So I don't know what they mean by mega dungeon, but that sounds cool. Is it gonna be like a big dungeon where it's like 5 people but has like raid level mechanics? Because that sounds cool as heck. I would love something like that. I think that should, again, it's literally just like a bullet point. Shut your mouth, you damn. Okay, fine. I'll leave you be. That sounds cool. Mega dungeon. I hope it's like, yeah, like a Blackrock Depths, like really big old school style dungeon, but with like raid difficulty mechanics, and you get like, you know, maybe better gear than normal for it. I don't know. That sounds cool. I just felt like mentioning that, but remains to be seen what Mega Dungeon actually means, because that's very vague. And, yeah, I think that's basically the things I personally want to see. Who is Narn? Speak to Narn. I refuse. You cannot make me do this. I will speak to Narn at a later date. I think that's everything. I don't know how coherent I was. I don't know if this was even remotely enjoyable to watch. I just felt like getting my thoughts out there, and this is way too long. Part of me feels like I should re-record this, but be more concise and keep it shorter. But I am too lazy to do this, so I'm not going to do that. I am just going to post this, and if you want to watch it, then you can. And you have, if you made it this far, and you are probably, what in God's green earth? That poor stone shard is being tortured. I'm being chased by gnolls. What is happening? I don't understand. Leave me be. I am just exploring the beauty that is the Azure Span. I guess, you know, while we're at it this long, if you are crazy enough to have made it this far, let's go over one last thing. And that's what the last raid should be. Now, I already touched on that I think the lore and the writing of the expansion is a joke at this point, or at best, mediocre. So, I think we should bring that full force. They should make the last raid. You know, there's already theories that the last boss or last raid is going to involve Murazond or something. I don't know. Here's what I think they should do. Murazond happens. Nozdormu goes corrupt. He becomes crazy. Absolutely beautiful. And he makes some super time palace. I don't know. Interdimensional time palace. We have to chase him into it. And the raid involves, like, going through this crazy twisted time palace with crazy geometry, and it just looks wild, and we're going through different eras and stuff. Not like Dragonflight. We're not traveling, not like Dragon Soul, I mean, the raid. You're not, like, traveling from point to point. It's like one self-contained palace, but, like, the rooms are distorted and stuff. And, you know, it involves all sorts of weird timelines converging. We have to fight Hogger. Hogger is one of the bosses, but he's become the leader of all races and ever created and ever. We have to fight Hogger. We have to fight Sylvanas, but with the better script in her hands, so her character isn't, like, demolished. We have to fight I don't know, just a bunch of crap like that. Bunch of crazy stuff. Cenarius shows up, but, well, he was a boss in the Royal Nightmare, so I guess that wouldn't work. I literally just found that out. I'm not ripe winter berries. Just a bunch of stuff. And then, as we get to the end, we find Murazond. We fight Murazond. He's a good boss. His raid mechanics don't suck. And the part of his fight involves he just teleports us to different crazy arenas. And the final one he teleports to in his last phase is the Black Empire on top of some big obelisk and temple. And then, as we are fighting Murazond, and we bring him down to 1%, he like times us out or something. He you know, breaks our hard drives. I don't know what I'm saying. And we all get frozen in time. And you know what that means. He's like, I will not go down. I must rewrite the time to be good. I must rewrite us back to BC, the Burning Crusade days. And as he's about to do that, a large black obelisk pierces him into the heavens, much like this tree right next to me. What a great visual indicator, pine tree, you arrive at the perfect time. And then Murazond dies. He falls through the obelisk. And what made that giant black stalagmite spike thing? But it was Yasharj, because we were in the Black Empire, if you were listening. And Yasharj shows up. He's like, yo, dogs, what's up? I'm here. I'm back. They wanted to make use of me as a raid boss, so here I am. You brought me back to this. Since you guys brought back to this time, I can now use this to get back. I'm going to pull a Gul'dan and get back to the real world. I'm going to mess everything up because I'm Yasharj. And then we fight Yasharj, and we're beating Yasharj, and he's the hardest boss ever. Only 0.001% of guilds beat him. And then, as Yasharj is falling and dying, he does the unthinkable. He's falling over, and then suddenly we hear gears turning. A metal door on his chest slowly starts to open up, and out walks the jailer in his automaton form, but with the fedora and sunglasses and a gold chain necklace with a money sign on his neck. And he says, "What's up, my dudes? It is me, the jailer. I told you that you were not ready for what is to come." And then we fight the jailer, and it's okay, I'm done. Anyways, that's what they should do. I'm gonna go now. This took way longer than it should be. TLDR, Dragonflight is pretty good. I honestly have no idea how long I'm going to stick with it. I don't know if it does enough to keep me around. It does more to keep me around than Shadowlands did, so there's at least a decent chance that I'll stick around for the next raid. Depends how well I get along with my current guild, because I, of course, had to join a new guild. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But at least I don't have to be in Ardenweld anymore, so that's a plus. If you are enjoying Dragonflight, good. I'm happy for you. I'm enjoying it too. I just don't think it's as amazing as everyone else seems to think. A lot of other people seem to be really, really positive on it, which is good. Again, it's good. It's good. One of the problems with the WoW community is how overtly negative they are a lot of the time. So, and they're not as overtly negative this time, which is good, and I can see why this expansion did a lot of things better. It's just rather a matter of if they'll keep up that momentum and if they'll fix any of the faults I have with it. We'll see. Anyways, I'll see you guys later when I give my review on the final raid and we fight the Jailer. Have a good one. See you later. Yeah.